I'm Lester Holt. Howdy, Holtheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Dateline.
We are here to discuss a brand new Dateline about a topic I think we're all familiar with, the murders in Utah, Idaho. Why do I keep... What is it? Is it the A and the H? I'm always thinking Idaho and Utah are the same thing. What's up?
Well, they're right next to each other.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. All right, so we are here to discuss... Dateline is doing a little update for us. They are talking about the murders of Maddie Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Ethan Chapin. This is... Well, okay, this is perhaps an incomplete episode because... the trial is starting in 12 weeks, so we don't know what the hell is going to go down. But I think this would be a good rundown for us, because we've never touched on this story before. I know there's a lot out there, but I think we're just going to do a rundown of what leading up to the trial, what we're working with evidence-wise. And of course, talk about this Dateline, which I got a lot of opinions on. What did you think about it, Kate?
I wasn't a big fan of this one.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, they've already done this story. Everybody has.
Yeah.
And typically we do skip these because they're just too high profile.
Yeah.
But
we're finding out that's
doing it.
Like shooting ourselves in the foot growth-wise.
Yeah, people want to see the super famous cases. So
now, I don't know about you, but according to Keith Morrison, and every 2 minutes of this episode, we hear about exclusive details. I don't know about this because, I tend to wait until everything is wrapped up to really dig in deep. But are these all new things that we've never heard about? We've got security footage of a white car. We've got pictures on a phone. We've got cell phone data about what he's googing. What do you think here, Kate? Because Dateline, boy, did they talk a big game.
I've definitely seen the footage of the car before. And as for the cell phone photos, I don't know what any of those get us.
I know. Well,
it's kind of useless.
I agree on that, especially the ones of him browsing Insta. It's kind of like, that's probably what every dude's Instagram that age in that at a college town looks like. Like it's just pictures of ladies and stuff.
And then what do the psychotic selfies get us? We already know the dude's crazy looking.
Okay, I'm with you there, but I fucking loved getting these selfies because I'm going to this guy is such a dork, okay? And these selfies where he's like trying to be all Ted Bundy and stuff are laughably dorky, okay? Like, this guy is such a goober. I love these selfies because it just confirms everything where it's like, this guy's a wannabe of another loser. Like, this guy's a copy of a loser, and he just sucks so hard, and he's like, look at me in my hoodie, I look just like Ted Bundy. I don't know, I like making fun of it. What do you think?
Yeah. But can we also make fun of, once again, the quality of the photos?
My God, Kate, I was totally thinking about you this whole time. Because it was so bad, Keith even makes a point of saying...
We should add that the photos from Kohberger's phone throughout this story have been resized for improved quality, but are otherwise unchanged.
It's gotta be something...
Thumbnails.
What else could they be? These photos were taken in 2022. They are awful.
It makes no sense. And how is this helping? What are we getting by looking at these extremely blurry, useless photos? And Dateline is so proud of them.
Yeah, they are.
They're so proud.
Yeah.
We've obtained these exclusive photos.
And obtained exclusively by Dateline.
I can't even tell what I'm looking at.
You can't even read the license plate of the picture of the close-up of the car they're looking at.
No.
Like, I guess it kind of confirms that was his car, the white car, but we kind of already knew that.
We knew that.
Because he owned a white car, so...
He owned that car and was pulled over in it, and we saw several videos of that. I don't understand what they thought was exclusive about this.
Yeah. I really think it is. I guess everybody's got to play the game, because this was the least Dateline episode of the Datelines we've done. They did so many non-Dateline things. Mm-hmm. For instance, I watched it with commercials. It took forever. It was all the same commercials for one. Like, I watched the end of a show called Grosse Pointe Society, and it made me nostalgic for back in the day when you'd have to watch the last 2 minutes of a show you've never heard of to wait for the beginning of the show you're about to watch. Mm-hmm. That did kind of make me warm and fuzzy inside, I'll admit. And, I mean, that show looked terrible. I don't know. Have you ever watched Grosse Pointe Society?
I've never heard of that show.
My friends and I sort of murdered someone.
Anyway, that was fun. But here's the thing. Keith Morrison on camera. What's that pops up in the lower third of the screen? A freaking chiropractor! Ron, this is Keith Morrison!
So weird.
A lower third!
So weird.
They don't do this, right? Like, it was small enough.
No.
And it's near, it was in the super bottom left. It was like lower than lower third. It was like lower fourth. It was where they put like their dumb hashtags and like, have you ever fought with your spouse? Tell us on Twitter. Like, all that stuff. So maybe I've missed it in the past, but I was shocked.
No, you haven't.
I was shocked. I was like, okay, of all the people, of all the talent and all the people you've talked to, we know who this guy is, dudes. We know Keith. We know KM.
Especially because Lester says, here's Keith Morrison.
Here's Keith Morrison.
I was beside myself, Kate. I could not believe it. So that was crazy. And then all this exclusive talk. Oh, and also, they have sources that they trust.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
That was another thing that struck me about this episode. Aside from the lower third, lower fourth, they didn't have anyone related to the case talking. And maybe that's because it's still in process and they're about to go to court.
They can, yeah.
But they just had quote unquote experts. But it was just like people with opinions about the case. They might as well have had us on there.
I mean, I know. I mean, this was the other thing where it was like, it was such a hardcore version of the stuff we hate. Experts that have nothing to do with the case, because that's all they could do. Because, like, the trial hasn't happened, so, like, the cops can't talk about it. The prosecutor's not going to talk about their case yet. Like, I get why, but I don't know. They gave so much floor time to these yahoos, and I can't wait to roast the author, Kate, because I looked up his book on Amazon, and the reviews are funny. They're funny.
But why do this case now? Why not wait till after the trial? Is it because they had these exclusives and they didn't want anyone else to scoop them, so they had to do it immediately?
Well, that's what they would tell us. But also, I mean, they gotta, dog. I would love it if they waited, but there's going to be another one in 12 weeks when the trial starts. And then there's going to be another one before closing arguments. And then there's going to be another one a year from now. Like, this won't go. I mean, this is how the cycle happens. And it's excruciating sometimes, I feel. And I wasn't, honestly, watching this app, it kind of made me not proud to be a true crime fan. Like, I've justified it to myself that we're a necessary part of the world. People got to watch this stuff happen to keep the people policing it in check. Like checks and balances and stuff. But there's something about this one where it felt like salacious, or I felt like I was like, it made me feel kind of icky. What about you?
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I think it felt like a cash grab.
Cash grab, aka like trending search grab.
They made this episode specifically for the algorithm.
Yeah, which we'll be cutting out, but that's exactly what we're doing.
Oh, are we not allowed to say algorithm?
No, we can, but what we're accusing Dateline of, we're specifically doing right now. That's why I'm cutting it early. That's why we're fucking talking about this fucking episode, is strictly for the algorithm.
I don't think you need to cut that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well,
but the difference is...
Here we go. Peek behind the curtain.
The difference is we don't make money.
Right.
Dateline does.
That's true. That's very true.
Diabolical.
Okay, let me do our thing real quick. IMDb description. This is The Terrible Night on King Road. And it was funny, 2 years ago when they did an episode on this when it first happened, it was called The Killings on King Road. So they keep having to like shuffle stuff. I wonder what they're going to call it, in 12 weeks. And, a piece of paper that they showed about have you seen this car or whatever? Guess what address that said? King Street, dog. So what's right? What do you think?
Well, what does Google say?
Oh, I didn't look. I did not hop on the Google for that. You gonna do it or no?
I'll look it up real quick.
It is wild that picture that we see of the people who died. It is wild that was like the last post they had on Insta, huh? I mean, it's a great photo. The one we see in all the thumbnails and stuff?
Yeah, it is a great photo. It's King Road.
Okay. All right. Well, that piece of paper was incorrect. Now, Kate, I took a screenshot of it and it'll come up later, but I wonder if you read that little piece of paper.
I didn't.
Okay. Kicking that to the list. Oh, I can't wait. I can't friggin' wait. Okay, IMDb. Exclusive new details about the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students are revealed. The new details feature never-before-reported evidence that investigators say helped them track the accused killer's movements. Correction, IMDb, that investigators of other cases say help the real investigators potentially do stuff that we'll hear about in the trial. Done. Fixed it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Oh, okay, so one, Keith started with and. I loved it. This is a baller Keith move. Okay, Blaine's not doing that. She's too new right now to lead with that. He goes, and now spring has come.
And now spring has come to Moscow, Idaho.
Right? I was like, get it, Keith. That's a real flex, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting though because this happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Several springs have come.
Great point.
It's not like this
right.
is just a few weeks after the murders and now the seasons are changing.
Yeah, this is the third spring.
This is the third spring.
That's true. And right off the bat, I gotta B-roll you busted because clearly somebody in the post-production side of Dateline ponied up the dough for a license for a Red Giant Universe plugin because they do these film slide transitions that I know so well. They did a stupid ass cube twist one that I used in last week's video to transition to Future Kurt. Okay. So I was laughing my ass off watching these because they're so clearly like the retro film carousel transition and stuff like that. Ugh. You know what I mean?
For us, it's cool. For them, it's lame.
Yeah.
Dateline doesn't do that.
No, they don't. Well, they certainly don't do it anymore. Look, there was a dark time in like the mid-teens or whatever it's called, like the early 2010s. They did some hokey ass editing. Okay. But isn't that kind of funny to see those? I mean, they had sound effects and everything, and it was like, I was like, oh boy. Oh boy. But I love seeing Red Giant pop up. You know, they were probably stoked.
Oh, sure.
Okay. One of the this lady was teased at the beginning and we didn't talk to her until the end. It doesn't really matter because she is simply a former employer of one of the victims.
Yes.
What'd you think of this lady?
I felt like she was brought in for a very specific reason. And it was to paint a picture of who these girls were. Because there was no one else really talking about who they were as people. None of their family members were interviewed. Nobody related to the victims. The one woman they interviewed was a friend's mom, not one of the victims' mom.
A friend who was supposed to stay there that night. Mm-hmm. We talked to that mom a bunch. And you're right. And this is, other than that mom, this is the only person in their near age group who even knew the victims. Even this party we talk about, did they know the victims? Did Catalyst, the PH DJ, know the victims? I don't know. I don't think he did.
And I was a little confused, and maybe we'll talk about this later, but the woman that they interviewed who was the employer, she also had insight into Bryan Kohberger that she had heard from other employees, but he didn't go to their school. So I was confused as how she would know that he was a bad TA over in Washington based on what these girls were telling her in her shop.
You're right. There's a lot of stuff in here where it's like, oh yeah, because she specifically says, I talked to one girl who's never had a C in her life, and Bryan Kohberger gave her a C.
So
wow, thanks for that scoop.
Does that mean that kids who are in Washington at his school drive all the way over to work at her shop in Idaho?
Good cue. Now, my favorite line that she said, I'm glad you mentioned her shop, is because she snuck this in there, and I bet she was so pumped it got in there, is she's a former employer, because the victim that she knew left for another job, and they actually put it in of her going,
I was like, you know what? We would have paid you $25 an hour to stay here.
Bullshit. Look at this. She's trying to cover her tracks or whatever. You don't have to paint yourself as a saint, lady. Right?
It was odd.
I couldn't believe that made the cut and so early. Okay, we get the lowdown of the students. They lived in this, was it sorority or just a house owned by the school and students lived in there? What was the vibe?
This was also a little confusing. It was a school-owned property because the school is the one who ended up tearing it down. So
yeah, last year.
So the building was owned by the school, but these girls were in a sorority but didn't live in the sorority house. Maybe that's common. I don't really know a lot about the Greek system. This house seemed like it was not gross, like a sorority or fraternity house. Just a normal 2-story
party house.
Yeah,
bare bones. It's not like I had a lot of... It definitely looked like a party house. And we see the social life of these ladies on TikTok. They're having fun. I mean, they really had a blast. They did a good job in the ep of setting the tone of these ladies were doing their thing, just enjoying that college lifestyle, only for it to be shattered by this friggin' loser.
Mm-hmm. Who didn't even know them.
Yeah, I mean, okay. He did it, right? I mean, he did it.
Yes.
He 1,000% did it. We'll talk about the trial and what their plans are later. But I just think it's so clear he did it, even if he doesn't know these people and stuff. I feel like it's not even debatable with all the stuff they have on this guy. don't you think?
It's not debatable. No, he did it. And I went into this episode knowing that.
Yeah, me too. But again, I didn't know the deets. It was just wild later when we talked to this defense attorney for other people. It's like, hey, you just plant that one seed. Who knows, man?
You don't even have to do that. Just look at his eyes. Again, case closed. Yeah. Dude's a psycho.
Crazy eyes. So Keith talks about them for a minute. And we're talking to the mom of one of the girls. And then he says, but meanwhile, in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, a weird kid named Bryan Kohberger, age 27, is preparing to move to go to school because he's going to get a PhD in criminology. And this, Kate, I loved because they showed an old picture of him and he was a chunk a little, right? And now this really reminded me of The Man with No Name, where Keith did not talk about the weight loss. I feel like he listened to our ep. It was so much so Keith had to say something, but he didn't say enough, in my opinion.
Jason, much heavier at the time.
Oh, no shit, Keith. I want to know the backstory here. And he was like, God damn it, now I'm going to say something, okay? He lost 100 pounds, all right? Are you happy, Kurt Money? And I'd say, yes, Keith, I am. Right? He totally points out the weight transition.
He does. But I want to be clear. He did not listen to our podcast.
What? No, dude, I refuse it. I bet he friggin' did, dude. KM's a huge...
No.
KM's a Holthead. I'm saying that right here and now.
Okay.
Good, honey.
I mean, Keith is probably so sick of recording podcasts, he probably doesn't listen to him, right?
I sure don't.
Okay. So he's 27, lost 100 pounds, and he kicked a heroin habit.
But did he?
I don't know. This weight thing is going to come back later, because, look, we haven't seen him, as far as I know, for a few months. Okay? I'm really hoping that a few months in prison, he shows up to this trial.
Fat as
chunk again. He's going to hate it. He's going to be miserable about it. Yeah. Right? That's going to drive him nuts.
It could go the opposite way. He could become rail thin.
I know, but I would have agreed with you 2 years ago, but based on our show, most of the time people thicken up.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it hits him too. I hope he comes in there and they say unrecognizable. And I say, yeah, he's back to being thick. All right, we meet this Howard Bloom guy who wrote a book about this frickin' dude. What'd you think of this author? Did you have any respect for him or?
Well, I didn't look up his book.
Okay. They say the name of it.
Has written a book about the case. When the Night Comes Falling.
But if I were that author, I'd be pissed as hell at Dateline. They didn't show the cover. Show the cover of the book. I mean, my girl, Nancy Shore, hers was like an e-book, and they still showed the cover. Like, there was a cover to this book. I looked it up. Show us the cover.
If you're going to take the time to feature this random person, at least show us proof that they deserve to be talking about it on your show.
Yeah. Now, Kate, do not let me forget to read some of the Amazon reviews later. I'm going to keep rolling, but we've got to spend a second on the things he made mistakes about, okay?
Don't you think we should do that right now?
Oh, sure. I would love to.
We're talking about him.
So it had decent reviews, but there were a few. One person said disappointed with stained pages. The book was dirty. And also the pages were see-through. You could see the text from the other side while you're reading the one side. Okay, so big mistake there, Bloomdog.
Okay.
This was great. This person, 1-star review. Garbage. I paid $48 for this and so many wrong things in the book. For instance, Xana ordered Jack in the Box, not Burger King.
There's a very big difference between Jack in the Box and Burger King. And I get it. You wouldn't want someone thinking that you were partying with Burger King when you were ringing the bell.
That's so true. Kate loves to ring the bell. Personally, I like to hit the hut.
No one outbeats the hut.
But we would both be super offended if anybody said we were doing anything else.
Especially Burger King.
Okay, yeah, and then also another one was saying that I don't trust his sources. His sources were like friggin' YouTubers.
Yeah.
And stuff. Before Kohberger moved to go to school, he bought a knife on Amazon, a K-bar knife and sheath. This is going to come into play big time later. But he bought that knife, and he was going there to get his PhD in criminology. June 30th, 2022, he rolls up to like a school party. Tell us about this party, right? I mean, this was we were talking to some straight up party bros. The people we were talking to, I was dying.
It's a pool party. It's apparently popping off, although the footage we saw of it was not popping off. There were like five people there. But I have to think that was at the beginning of the party, and later it picked up.
Yeah.
But we talked to this DJ
What's his name?
who is a PhD DJ.
Now, his name is Zach, okay? For privacy reasons, he didn't want us to know his last name. But we can know his stage name, okay? It's Catalyst, the PhD DJ.
Zach isn't a musician, but with a doctorate in food science, he is known locally as Catalyst, the PhDJ.
So he's DJing, and
Yep.
who shows up to this pool party but Bryan Kohberger? And
Yep. Doesn't know anybody.
he doesn't know a single soul, and he starts chatting up the DJ, and he's talking to him way too much. Like, Catalyst has got to go back to DJing, and this kid is just not, he's not letting him go.
Yeah.
So other people at the party witness Bryan trying to chat up some girls. And one girl that he chats up is like married.
Yeah.
And points to her husband, and Bryan doesn't care. He's still chatting her up.
Okay. Now, this was weird, though, because Keith was like, we heard at one of our sources that a couple, they had to send signals to each other to come relieve him, and he wasn't getting the hint. These are the kind of facts we're getting. Some real hearsay party baloney. I don't know.
Basically, it was just to illustrate for us that Bryan was a loser. He had no game, no...
Yeah, like Scott Sales.
Right.
You just say this, we had no game. I mean, no game at all.
He had no self-awareness. He was not good in social situations. We later learned that he has autism, and maybe that contributes to a little bit of it. This guy was living all the way across the country from where he grew up, and he had nobody.
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't know how this story ended, I'd be like, the guy's trying, right? Like, he's awkward as hell and he's trying. I mean, the dude even gets... This was wild to me. We talked to one of the ladies that he was spitting game at, and she gave him her phone to put his info in there. Now, maybe this is a Gen Z thing. Would you ever hand your phone over to anyone?
No.
I mean, let alone a stranger. Anyone to plug their info in. Never, not once.
No.
Like, who knows what's going to pop up while they're texting it? And, like, when I say stuff like this, people are like, what are you doing on your phone? It's like, no, I'm not doing anything shady. It's just that I know how Murphy's Law works. When I hand it to somebody's going to text something that's about that person that's looking at the phone or something. Right?
Wait, I don't follow.
If I handed my phone to some weirdo who's talking to me at a party, and that person's plugging in their digis, I would get a text at that time from a person I came to the party with going, OMG, I can't believe that loser's talking to you. And then that loser would see that text and read it and go, what the hell is this about? That's what would happen. What do you think?
I've actually been nervous before when I've got the camera open and I'm posing with people and I'm like, I hope somebody doesn't text me right now, and it comes up on the screen and my friends see this. Not that it's going to be about my friends or whoever I'm posing with, but it could just be about something I don't want people seeing.
It's happened to me countless times where it actually did happen. Now, my ex will tell you that I manifested all this. It was because I was expecting it. I just think I know how the world works, okay? And it's cruel sometimes, and it's irony. So, but he does get her info. And the next day he texts her. And again, if he didn't end up being a total loser, poser, murderer, I would kind of say the guy's trying. Because he's like, hey, I'm not sure, but I think you and I texted yesterday about a certain hiking event. I happen to love that activity. Tell me more.
Hey, I'm pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoy that activity, so please let me know. Thanks.
What did you think of this?
It did come off a little formal, like she said. But
yeah.
I know I have some friends who talk like that, so I'm not totally mad at it. Some people are just very formal, and it could be a bit. We don't know.
True. And so this I was friggin' dying about. We talked to the girl, Holly, and she says she got that text. And, Keith's follow-up was like, so what'd you say back? And her answer was, I wrote this down because my eyes are still rolling thinking about it. She said, you know what?
The universe intervened and for whatever reason just distracted me from further engaging in that interaction.
Oh, you mean you ghosted him? Like, duh. Like, don't give us that bullshit. You just didn't reply.
Yeah, why wouldn't she just say, well, he was creepy, so I ghosted him?
Yeah. She doesn't have to, make excuses, but when she says, hey, the universe intervened, that to me is like, bye. Later, Catalyst, the PhDJ and his buds. So is that a better name than DJ Awesome 1? Or are we still going to give DJ Awesome 1 the best DJ name? Where does Catalyst, the PhDJ, rank?
And by best, you mean worst.
Yeah.
It's probably below DJ Awesome 1.
Okay, yeah, we got to give it a DJ Awesome 1. But Catalyst is out there on a hike, and it's nighttime, and they're leaving this hill that everybody climbs. And who's walking up but Kohberger?
Alone.
Uh-oh. He's a night owl. Well, they had fun with this, didn't they?
They had to bring in experts to tell us about how he's a night owl.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as Bloom says, quote, someone who lived in the shadows. That's real.
Yeah.
Someone
no,
said that.
I heard it.
Bryan is someone who lived in the shadows.
So I get being a night owl, but I think there's a difference between that and hiking alone in the dark, because you're a night owl.
Big time.
But you're not going out on night hikes.
No.
Also, this hill, I was not impressed.
Me neither. That's why we're calling it a hill, I think. It looked weak.
Yeah.
So throughout this episode, we're hearing about cell phone records, and we hear that Kohberger's phone pings in a tower. He's within where the murder will happen in November. He's within 100 meters of this place, like a total of like 24 times. Now, I had to Google this, and I felt kind of dumb doing it, but 100 meters is like a football field. Mm-hmm. Are we still calling that suspicious in this college town? I guess so, right? That's still pretty close.
Yes, because it wasn't his college town.
Good. Because he did live like 30 minutes away or something, didn't he?
He did, across the border.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was constantly at University of Idaho is hella weird, because he had his own college town to be hanging out in.
Yeah.
In Pullman, Washington.
You're right. It is weird. So he's over there a bunch. And in August of 2022, this is where his Bundy stuff begins. And I'm just like groaning so loud over this.
I know. It's like textbook murder fanboy to worship Bundy. It's so low-hanging fruit.
I know. And I hate it because sometimes it puts me in a position where I feel like I'm like I'm saying like Bundy, like you could never touch Bundy or something. It's like Bundy was a bum too. He was also a loser.
That's why it's pathetic.
Yeah.
But people idolize him. I don't get the women that are like, he was so hot.
I think he's hot.
He's average. He's some dope.
Yeah.
Just like some average looking white guy. I don't get it. It's like, are women that impressed by a chiseled jawline?
Yes, I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's what it is.
Grow up.
I'm with you there. So I guess that's why he's targeting this sorority house, because of what Bundy did in Florida, like his last run or whatever. But I gotta say this, Keith was like, he Googled Ted Bundy but spelled it wrong.
Kohberger Googled the name of the notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, although with a misspelling of the name.
He did more than that. He did that thing we friggin' hate. They showed the Google. It was H7NDY. So he clearly searched Ted Bundy thinking it would like not flag him. And it's like, dude, hey, Bryan, every single thing you type, people will see. It doesn't matter if you do the algorithm thing of like unalive. Okay? It does not matter because we see it and he thinks he's being clever and stuff. But that's one of many times he's going to Google Bundy and watch some dumb YouTube video. Oh, and did you think that we'd be talking about Britney Spears today? Because we will be. We will be.
I did not see that one coming. But yes, one of the videos that he watched on YouTube was a song by Britney Spears that had been slowed down so it sounded hella creepy.
Yeah, and he was listening to that when they arrested him. Okay, that's what's so funny, is he's looking at these poems and stuff and listening to Britney. And meanwhile, the SWAT team's out there going like, all right, let's go get him.
The title? Criminal.
He is a killer just for fun.
Anyway, total dork.
It's interesting that the Britney stans didn't come for him.
Well, when they showed the B-roll of the video that had been posted, they like credited the DJ, who did the mix, like on the top left. This to me is some YouTube DJ who did this on his own. Like this wasn't a sanctioned remix that you can download on Spotify.
No.
You know what I mean? This was like fan made. That's what was so lame about it, I think, because that's what it was. What a dork. So back at the girls' place, the party zone, we talk about a few times where the cops are called, and we see body cam footage of one of them coming out and being like, I'm so sorry, you're here for a noise complaint. And then there's one, we talked to the one girl's mom, and she was like, they would never, ever let Bryan Kohberger into their house because of his age and his creepiness. And I'm going, hey, lady, they just showed us footage of the cops coming to the house with 100 people there, and nobody who lived there was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like this party, where none of the actual residents was even present.
So I just looked for everyone that lived here, and they're not here right now.
So why would you say that? You can't defend that. They weren't even there.
We don't know if Bryan ever went into the house during one of these parties, but if that many people are crammed in there and they're drunk, it's possible he could have wandered in to get the lay of the land and then left, not talking to anybody, just blending in.
Yeah.
He was there so many times, I have to think he went in there once.
Yeah, and like later, one of the expert quote unquotes is talking about he can watch their socials and go like, oh, there's a door there. This is when they're home, or whatever. So even if he didn't go in, he probably had the lay of the land. But I was just so taken aback. I bet she watched this when it aired and she felt like they had done her dirty a little bit because they just played the bit where they're like, they weren't even home.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, my daughter would never do that because he's too old.
He was only 27.
I know. That's the other thing. And I guess maybe I'm too far away from it. I was going, he looks like the rest of them to me. I mean, he looked older than the girls. He absolutely did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't insane, right?
No.
I don't know.
And college is different. College isn't just all 20-year-olds. It's people of all ages.
Yep.
But again, anyone who's younger than me, I just think they're all the same age. I can't tell how old people are.
Same. I'm pretty bad at it too. He was searching, we see more searches, and it's like, when can a cop detain you? And I don't know if this is a B-roll you busted, or this is just like a B-roll Kurt's got his eye on you. Because the first thing that popped up was when he typed when, it said, when was The Righteous Gemstones filmed? And then it was like, when is Easter 2025? So you know what this tells me? This baby was in post doing this early April.
Oh, yeah.
Premiere of Gemstones final season. Easter's around the corner.
So this is like an assistant editor's laptop, and they just filmed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1,000% just a screen recording of it, of someone's laptop, and then they, like, in post, put it in a 3D space. That's 1,000% what they did.
And they didn't want to clear the search history for this shot?
No. I mean, it sells it being real and stuff, but anytime on Dateline or news programs, I'm always pausing it because I'm like, because they're kind of related to what the person whose account it's on searches.
Exactly.
So, like, it's not the same for everybody.
No.
Right?
It's this assistant editor who's like, oh, when does Gemstones come back?
Yeah. Where was it filmed? I kind of recognize that place.
That is a B-roll you're busted.
Okay, sweet. Count it. B-roll. You busted.
Busted.
Busted. So meanwhile, Kohberger's not doing so hot at his school. He's a TA for a lady that he had downloaded a paper she wrote about Bundy. So he was like a fan, but we keep hearing examples about how he was awful to women. He's just your standard, like, awful guy, right? Like, he doesn't... And he's, like, making fun of her because of her accent. Her name looked like French or something. And I'm like, dude, what? That's not cool in any regard, but it's like, you obviously idolize this lady because of that paper she wrote. Like, is this you flirting? Like, what are you doing?
But didn't he also have some mean things to say about the quality of her writing?
Oh, maybe.
Which I thought was strange because it's like you wanted to TA for her because of what she wrote, but then you're being critical of what she wrote.
Yeah, they were saying he thought he was the smartest guy in the room and he'd always be correcting people. I mean, this guy sounds like a pill.
But you know what?
Like, you dread seeing him coming in. What's that?
When they pulled up the image of the paper that she wrote, I was like, why isn't the title capitalized?
Ooh,
I was kind of like, I don't know, I see some errors right here on this front page. So I was like, Bryan, he might have been right about some things.
Okay, so Kate's identifying with Bryan Kohberger right now. Okay, got it. Kate is pro Kohberger.
But it's like he targets people thinking he can weasel his way in by being like, I'm a fan. And then as soon as he's in, he's like, he wants to bring them down. He just cuts them down, especially if they're women. And he was very unfair with how he was grading assignments.
Yeah. Which I believe 1,000%. I mean, that's like, there's no question there, I feel. The only person he gets close to is this girl, I forget her name, and she didn't want to be interviewed by Dateline, but she shared an office with him, so she was probably like another TA. Do you remember the deets of this where, like, she was interested in him, but he, like, iced her, like she wasn't good enough for him or something.
And then I think because he wanted to keep messing with her, he victimized her. He stole the key to her apartment, which he knew she kept in a drawer in their shared office.
Yep.
He went in, did weird stuff, and she...
Yeah, like, broke something so that he could fix it, right?
Broke something so he could fix it, put food in the microwave.
I missed that.
So when she came home, she knew someone had been in there. and she was scared, so she called him.
Because it was 2 a.m.
It was the only guy she knew also. Like, they're both not from there, so they only know each other. And she runs into his arms, and he's the one who did it.
Yeah.
And then it happens again where she thinks, I need to get security cameras up here. I don't feel safe. And she has him install them.
Yeah. So then her worry was like, so can he watch me now? And I'd say,
yes.
He 100% probably could.
Yes,
probably,
girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know why she didn't suspect him from the beginning.
Well, she does eventually suspect him, right? I mean, she does go to the authorities. It might have just been the campus police, but says, like, I'm worried he might be recording me. And of course, nothing comes of it. But I don't know. I feel like she does come around, right?
She does, but she does. It's just a shame that it took a few incidents for her to realize it.
Yeah. And also, he's like, I mean, when I went to college ages ago and it was a film school, I don't really remember TAs. They probably existed. But she probably looked at this guy like more than just a student, right? Like, you assume he's like has an authority or something as a TA, right? Like, I wouldn't, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Art schools don't have TAs.
Okay.
I think it's more of like a state school thing.
All right.
And if there's a PhD program, which I don't think your school had.
Oh, did your school have a PhD program?
No, but we're not going to talk about my school.
I wasn't asking you to name it, dog. I just wanted to know if it had PhD. You worried people are going to narrow it down?
Yeah.
They're going to go online and be like, colleges that have PhDs. Okay, Caitlin didn't go to these. Okay, all right. I respect it. Caitlin lives in has moved. Oh my God, sorry, I'm going to faint.
You're going to faint?
Yeah, from laughing. Sorry, that really caught me off guard. I'm seeing stars right now, dude.
No, dude.
All right, so it is, I want to say November 12th. Is that?
Girl, I don't know.
Okay, I think it's November 12th. Yes, into the 13th. But there's a football game that they all go to, and this is why the one mom's kid didn't go. She'd like watch the dogs.
And so you asked her to stay?
And she had to stay an extra day to watch the dogs.
But we see them at like a food truck. And then this was when Xana orders DoorDash at 4 a.m. And I was like, this is a girl after my own heart. Okay. I was the dude still ready to party and grub at 4 a.m. Okay. So I'd have been right there with her going, yeah.
And
you know I love Jack in the Box.
And I am the clueless person who didn't even know you could order DoorDash that late.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, that's true. Maybe College Town and stuff, but I mean, look, you can ring the bell that late. When I'm grubbing that late, you can ring the bell at like 2, 3, 4 a.m. It's pretty sweet.
Do they ever close?
Yeah, they might close at 4. 4 seems to be the cutoff, so I'm impressed it was still going. They might just be 24 hours. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. She's grubbing. Other people are in bed. But Matt, the 4 victims are in the house right now. And we see this exclusive video footage of this white Elantra. Tell us, Car Kate. Tell us what this car's up to on this security cam.
It's a white Hyundai Elantra, and it is circling the block over and over and over again. And
yeah, and going down the street.
We've already seen this. Like, they're saying it's an exclusive video, but I remember looking at this video 2 years ago, so I don't know what Keith's talking about.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's going back and forth, scoping out the scene. It's Bryan. He's gonna go kill.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad that I got you for a second here, Car Cake, because Keith said something that I thought was wrong. He said that the car did a U-turn. No, it didn't. It just backed up and turned left. That's not a U-turn. Right? I mean, help me out here. It literally pulled past the street, backed up, and then turned. Like, that's not even a 3-point turnabout. What do you think?
Yeah. So you're saying Keith doesn't know the rules of the road?
Yeah. I'm saying KM, you busted. Got him good.
Keith also referred to this car as something very weird.
What do you say?
Throughout the episode.
Jalopy?
No, I was hoping you remembered, but it was like like car evidence number 1 or something.
Oh, suspect vehicle number 1, I believe.
A car that authorities identified as a white Elantra and called suspect vehicle 1.
What he's talking about, he's literally quoting court documents.
He kept saying it.
That's what it is.
Throughout this episode. And it was weird because there wasn't a suspect vehicle number 2.
No.
So just call it the white Elantra.
Yeah. There are no other suspects, absolutely. But they sure teased like there was. Mm-hmm. What was that from at the beginning in the cold open where they're doing like, the montage of like, this is why those episodes great. I was laughing my ass off at this lady in court that was like, and some say this leads to another suspect. Like she was waiting for the Law and Order sound to happen or something.
We came across a tip that would appear to be an alternate suspect.
Do we hear about that other suspect? I don't think we do.
No, because we have these experts who are just dudes with opinions come on and say the defense is going to offer up other suspects probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Kohberger pleads out, like, we don't know. This is dumb. What are we doing?
Well, you know what it is? Because they want the death penalty. If they didn't, this probably would have already been in motion. But because it's the death penalty, that's when the brakes are hit and stuff. And as far as we know, he's saying not guilty. But, I wouldn't, unless he wants to be like little mini Bundy, I could see him taking a deal just to not go on death row. This might not even go to trial, right? That's possible.
What if he pulls a Bundy, fires his attorneys, and represents himself? Because he thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He's a PhD candidate.
Yeah.
I bet he thinks he can outsmart the law.
Oh my God, remember the last time we had that with, what's her name, the mom?
Where's my puffy coat?
Yes, the puffy coat murders. She thought she was smarter than everybody. And she's like holding the book up to the camera and saying, like, if I unplug the laptop, it dies. You're right. I hope Kohberger says, I got this. I got this, y'all. Okay, so night of the murder, it's like 4:13 or something when the car comes and parks off screen. And Dateline had this amazing animation where they were like, we studied social postings and friends and documents and sources we trust say that the kitchen has a patio door. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
We had this animation built. It's based on the recollections of former residents and court records.
What'd you think of this? They sweep in, like we see the path he takes, and he comes in through the kitchen door patio and goes right to Maddie's room on the second floor. So this is what they're thinking, she was the main target.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes in there, and she's not alone. There's Kaylee, like her other roommate is in bed with her.
He discovered that Maddie was not alone. Kaylee was sleeping in the same bed.
He's got that knife, and he kills him pretty violently. Downstairs, Xana is on TikTok. She hears a ruckus, goes up to see what's up, and that's when the suspect number one, comes out and chases her downstairs as she's trying to make it to Ethan's room, catches her in the hallway, and she put up a hell of a fight, as Keith says.
The killer was on her, what one source described as a hell of a fight ensued.
And she is killed in the hallway, and then he goes into the room that she's trying to get into. There's Ethan still sleeping, but R.I.P. Ethan as well. Then he has to take a breather because dude's worn out. And as he's leaving, the other roommate, Dylan, she comes out, sees a guy in a mask who was not muscular. I love that she said that. Was not buff. He was not ripped. He did not look good, okay? He was non-shredded, and he had bushy eyebrows and a face covered with a mask. And do you remember what he said to her? I remember this when it happened. This was creepy.
I'm not going to hurt you?
No, it's okay. I'm going to help you, is what he said. And then he walked right by her, and then we see him peel out on the security cam. All right, now, I mean, we love talking about how people grieve differently, but we got to spend a minute on what happens in the aftermath, because there's two people still alive and awake at this time, at 4:20 in the morning. What happens? Do they call the police? Do they run outside screaming? What happens here?
They are very disoriented and confused about what just transpired.
And drunk.
And still drunk.
Yeah.
They go back into Dylan's room and they text their roommates upstairs.
They both go into their own rooms, and Dylan is texting Bethany in her room. They're not texting police or anybody. They're literally texting each other going, something happened. And so Dylan runs to Bethany's room, and that's when she sees Xana on the floor for the first time and says she looked passed out and drunk. She put up a hell of a fight and stuff. She's covered in blood.
But the lights are off.
Okay, fair. So they're together and they're texting in Bethany's room.
These girls are in Bethany's room and they are trying to text their roommates upstairs because they're confused. They don't know what's going on. They're trying to check on them. But they're freaking out because their roommates aren't answering. But instead of going upstairs and knocking on their door or going in and making sure they're okay, they don't do that.
4 hours later, they're up at 7:30, 8 a.m. Bethany's texting her dad. Dylan's on Instagram, reaching out to these same roommates through social media stuff. And everything that they say is stuff like, they're not moving, I'm worried something weird is happening. And they're in there. Now, it's not until 7 hours later when they call someone who doesn't live there. She comes over with her boyfriend. The boyfriend, and they walk by Xana again, and Dylan starts crying and runs away and says she's drunk still. And the dude goes in there and says, nope, get out of here. He's like pale white. And finally, 7 hours later, the cops are called, and we hear a 911 call.
911 location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening. Something's happened in our house. We don't know what.
What's up with this? Because, again, right off the bat, they were drunk, and it's like shock. I would buy their reaction for 2 hours tops. That I would let slide maximum. But 7 hours, you're sober. Like, what's going through their head?
It's hard to say.
The cops show up, and this is when they find the sheath to a K-bar knife in the hallway. Like, in the scuffle, the killer had dropped the sheath. So we've got a good piece of evidence.
It's hard to say how anybody would react in a situation like that. I don't want to make it sound like these girls just, what did Keith say? Did the irrational thing?
Something like that. Like, yeah.
They can't process it in any rational way, so they behave in a way that's irrational.
Because we don't really know their state, how drunk they were, if they were tired, if they were in shock, confused.
I mean, they might have been sleeping for 5 of those hours.
They might have been. It sounds like they were up pretty late. I don't want to point the blame at anybody.
No.
It's just a very confusing scene.
It is very confusing. And I remember when this first hit the news in 2022, like there was suspicion cast on them because of this delay and also on that lady who wrote that paper and stuff. And I'm like, this is why I hate getting involved discussing this stuff before it's wrapped up. Because it's just like, what, really? Really? What, you thought like Dylan was in on it? Is that what you're insinuating? Or like, what do you think that like this teacher was his like mentor because she wrote a paper about Ted Bundy?
No.
Yeah.
I was, though, a little confused by Dylan's statement that he had bushy eyebrows, but if he was wearing a ski mask, how do you see the eyebrows?
Well, if there's eye holes, right? I mean, they're bushy enough where they're maybe popping out. What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, look, he did it.
Yeah. He absolutely did it. And later, like, one thing the defense is going to say is that Dylan looked at a picture of Kohberger and said, I have no idea who that is. And people who are guessing what the defense will say are like, well, that just erases it right there. And it's like, no, he had a mask on.
He had a mask on. Of course she didn't know who that was.
Yeah, like that. Okay, so the murders happened in November, and over the next, 6 weeks, Keith is loving telling us about the digital footprint of Kohberger. And we could fly through a few of these, but he's Googling himself, he's Googling the murders, he's saving articles about the murders. You know what he keeps doing? This was wild that they could do this. Techspert Kate, I feel like we got to give him some cred here. He hit buy now on another K-bar knife, but didn't buy it fully. So that's some pretty good stuff that they saw that he hit buy now and stuff, right?
They knew that he had entered the purchasing process, but didn't fully submit the purchase.
Yeah, and
that's some good forensics.
Yeah, and I love how dumb this guy is because this isn't the first time he's going to browse the exact K-bar knife and sheath on Amazon. He goes there, I think, 4 other times because he's thinking, I'll just buy a new one. So when they come say, is this your knife? They could say, no, because I've already got it, my own sheath right here.
So whether he was planning to be able to show, if anybody came around to see him, that he actually had a sheath for it, and he couldn't have been him who dropped it?
Dummy. And he's watching the dumbest, low-rent looking videos about Ted Bundy and stuff, and he watches one where the thumbnail of it made me cringe because it said Bundy behind him, but there was way too much space between the U and the N behind the guy's head, and then it said Ted in the middle on the bottom.
Ew.
It was very gross to me, design-wise. It looked awful, and of course this is when he throws on a hoodie and is like, look at me. Here's some thumbnails of me looking like my bud. My Bundy, bro. Those pics of him in his little hoodie. Oh, we forgot, day after the murder, he posts a selfie giving a thumbs up, and he had just showered and stuff. Now, did he have matching Bluetooth headphones in, or was that part of a religious headpiece?
No, those were Bluetooth headphones, but it did look almost like Hasidic curls down the side.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you agree that they're Bluetooth headphones, because now we can roast him for it.
Yeah.
Why has it got dual Bluetooth in? And again, this was 2022. We've had pods for years, y'all. Right? We've had AirPods. What's he doing?
And you know he's an Android user.
Oh, 100%. And actually, that's confirmed because he has a green bubble earlier.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You're absolutely right, Kate. Bryan Kohberger, Android user.
Yeah, it would be a good commercial for their product.
So over 6 weeks, 60 times he viewed or saved stuff about the murders, and he would search his name in relation to the murders. This is all sinking him. Guy's done for. Okay, so now the police, this was interesting, okay? There was a lot of repeat stuff in this and a lot of, speculation, but we did have some fun genealogy-wise later, and we have Cece Moore on, the genealogy all-star. I mean, she's the face of it. You recognized her, right? We've seen her before.
Her long, curly, blonde hair. Yep. We see her a lot.
Yeah. And this is interesting because they've got DNA on the sheath, but it's not in the databases they were allowed to search. Now, I don't think they were allowed, like it wasn't in CODIS or something like that. But so they go to myheritage.com and the FBI uploads it. And now this is interesting, and the defense was hoping they'd get this thrown out because apparently if you're federally funded, the guidelines say you're not allowed to use a public database like this. But the FBI, who made that rule, said, yeah, but it says guidelines.
It's not a law.
So we'll apologize later.
It's not law. It is a guideline that they try to work under. But it is not law. They can do whatever they want. And good, they should, because he's guilty.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've made our point clear of, like, everybody has all the info. Just stop being gatekeepers about DNA databases.
And
basically.
also,
like,
they knew that they had enough information and that this case was high profile enough that they could just skirt that guideline and submit it to MyHeritage. They already had all the evidence that he did it. They just needed to tie the DNA. I feel like if they had no idea who the murderer was, maybe they wouldn't skirt that guideline.
Yeah.
But this was just confirming what they already knew. So they were like, it's fine, just whatever.
And the judge lets it in, and he said that's just going to be used as, like, one of many tips they use to get to the guy, which I thought was funny phrasing.
Exactly.
The idea that if you have federal funding, that's when that guideline is supposed to apply to you. So this is what I wonder. Is that why all these genealogy all-stars like CeCe Moore, is that why they're all over true crime docs now? Because they're not federally funded? And that's why they're allowed to use all these databases?
Maybe. Interesting.
I like that would make sense, right? I mean, even if you have a genealogy business, you're only federally funded if you're in the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I dumb?
Unless there's like a government contract. But yeah, I mean, this is capitalism, baby.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of government contracts, Kate, I've got a gun guy. If you need some guns for the military, I've got a guy that can hook you up.
Is it in West Virginia? Because I'd really like it to be in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia.
Yeah, he doesn't personally own any guns, and he's never had a picture with one, but he owns a ton of them. He's got a cachet, as they say.
He thought it was the best thing ever because he was a gun runner. I sell guns to the government.
So they do go into my heritage, and of course they get a match. It's like the offspring of a male Kohberger. So it's like the dude's dad is the hit, right? And so Kohberger's at his house with his parents living there on their dime, being weird as hell, wearing rubber gloves all over the place and stuff. And the cops do
sorting his own trash.
And the cops do a move that you know I'm here for. What do they do, Kate? When nightfall, I mean, Kohberger's probably out there. He lives in the shadows, so look out. He might be watching. But what do the cops do?
Well, they bust down the door.
Not yet. They steal some trash and sort it out and stuff to get one more confirmation of that DNA. So they do a classic trash pickup. Love it.
And it's a match. It matches with his dad.
Yeah. And so now they're like, well, now we get to arrest him. So while he's in there, just jamming out and feeling this Britney remix, right? And looking at poems. Oh God, I got a screenshot of it real quick. Keith reads it too, so I'll let him read part of it. But Keith, please let me read just the first part. Something is wrong with me. I can't be who I need to be.
Something is wrong with me. Will it last for eternity?
Deep.
What'd you think, Kate?
What a wordsmith.
Okay, so now they arrest him and they're building the case. This was, also, he was watching more Bundy videos. Did you notice this? It was called Ted Bundy, The Essence of a Psychopath. Keith says the name, but it just said psychopath. Is that a typo, or is this like is that like a spelling of it in another country? Like, what was up with that?
No idea. I didn't catch that.
I literally couldn't even Google it because it kept correcting it to psychopath. I'm like, I know what a psychopath is. I'm trying to figure out if this is like the French spelling of it. Okay? But I couldn't get to the bottom of it. Okay, boom. Oh, and while he's in the cop car, he says, we should get a cup of coffee after this. This guy is now in performance mode. And it's like, dude, it ain't working. Okay? They're not...
There is no after this, bro.
Well, of course there's not no after this, but there's also like, you're not being cool and flippant right now. Like, we're not impressed.
Mm-mm.
We're not impressed. Unfortunately, we know how you think, and we know the YouTube videos that you're watching. Like, you're never going to be this cool guy you think, dude.
Because the guy that you think was cool wasn't even cool.
No. I think it's time for those lists, Kate.
Kate's unnamed list. Well, we got a car.
Count it. That white Elantra.
We got the white
straight up
Hyundai Elantra. The, what is it? Suspect vehicle number 1?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it.
They definitely use that to confirm that it's him. I mean, we've seen the footage of he and his dad driving across the country, being stopped multiple times within the same half-hour span. That's crazy. Why? How can he get pulled over twice for speeding and his dad isn't doing anything about it? His dad's not like, slow down, man.
It wasn't for speeding. And this, I'm glad you brought this up. It was for following too closely. I mean, I'm shocked he got pulled over for this.
For tailgating?
Like, I know, yeah, people do it all the time. I just pump those brakes. Scares the shit out of them. But imagine getting pulled over twice in one day that a cop saw you following too closely. That's wild, right?
And that his dad wasn't like, hey, maybe let's not be so close to the person in front.
Yeah, or, hey, Bryan, how about you let Dad drive?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe let me get behind the wheel, because you're a little rusty, bro. Now, you got more list items. I hope you don't think it's just the car, dude.
Well, then you're going to have to tell me what they are, because I did not pick up on any others. I mean, other than maybe, no, that won't count either.
What?
I was going to say, them kids. But he's 27. He's not a kid.
Yeah, okay, you missed two things. One of them, I didn't expect you to catch it. But this one, though, right off the bat, Kate crying and saying sorry. I mean, it happened first act. Like, the mom of the girl who wasn't there stopped, cried, said sorry. I mean, that's textbook Kate's unnamed list.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, boom, boom. So that one, now I'm going to send you a screenshot that I took from the app, and you tell me if there's anything that jumps out at you, okay?
I'm ready.
You ready for this? Okay. Just go ahead, take a look at that. Let me know if you see anything on there.
Okay. It might be the piece of the puzzle that helps investigators solve these murders.
Puzzle!
But Kurt, it wasn't said.
I don't give a shit. That's too good to pass up. Let that on your list.
Okay.
Come on.
So for
Kate.
those of you listening, this is a flyer asking if anybody has seen this Hyundai Elantra, and that if you have, whether you believe it's significant or not, it might be the piece of the puzzle that helps investigators solve these murders. But it wasn't said.
You're splitting hairs here, Kate. If you had seen that, you would have counted it. I'm willing to say that for a fact.
But it wasn't even up on the screen long enough to read.
I read it. I saw it.
You had to pause it to read it.
No, I didn't. I paused it later to take a screenshot of it. I saw it when it came up.
You found that phrase on there while it was up on the screen for like 4 seconds.
Yeah. Absolutely 1,000%.
Okay, well then maybe the puzzle piece belongs on your list.
Well, come on. You got to count that. That's too good to be true. I'm not coming after you for it. Obviously, like,
I'll count it if it makes you happy, Kurt.
Come on. Are you trying to tell me if you had read that, you would not have put that on your list? You would have put it on your list.
Maybe so. Okay. That's going to do it for my list.
Now it's time for Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
Right off the bat, 12 weeks from the trial, scenes from a horror movie. Thanks, Bloom. We got one of those in there.
It's a scene from a horror movie, and yet it was real.
Cinematic story, also from Bloom. Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
There is an element that's very cinematic about this whole story.
This is the author I'm talking about. You know what this sounds like? Who wants his book to be adapted into a movie, I think. What do you think?
Not going to happen.
I think that's what it is. Okay, I got another one. This was good. One of the shots we see the girls are holding a watermelon. I read that as a reference to Dirty Dancing. I carried a watermelon.
I carried a watermelon.
Movie reference in a Dateline. What do you think?
No.
No, I'm giving it to him. Sorry, dog. It's on there. It's on there. I'm saying, I'm putting my foot down. I say, it's my list, my rules. Movie reference.
Those kids haven't even seen Dirty Dancing.
You don't... why else would they post a picture of them holding a big old watermelon? You don't think it was a reference to Dirty Dancing?
Not a chance. Huh. Those kids have never even heard of that movie.
We'll let the Holtheads decide. I think that one transcends. I think that's something that peeps be watching. I mean, they said Dateline a bunch. Keith did. So we know we got to count that.
Dateline exclusive.
Yeah. So we heard that a bunch. Anyway, I was super proud of the watermelon one. I was the most stoked about the puzzle being red, though. I couldn't wait to dissect that, baby. You want to wrap this up, Kate? You got anything else to say about the old Kohberger?
He sucks. We hate him.
He sucks. Yep.
I hope the firing squad takes him out.
That was... oh, great call, Kate. They had just passed it where if he does get the death penalty, it would be by firing squad.
Mm-hmm.
The first, sentenced after the governor this spring, signed a law that makes the firing squad its primary mode of execution.
Interesting. If I were I would pick that over lethal injection. What about you?
No.
You could survive injection accidentally, or it would be like drawn out and painful. Firing squad, you're done no matter what, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Do you remember the dude who beat the needle?
I do.
From the Gloria app? Classic ILH. Classic ILH. They could not find a vein to put the needle in. And boy, did they try. There was over 100 attempts. And on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.